Hello and welcome to PLO Genius. Today we're going to be looking at a bunch of different features that are available in this program. So the first one we're going to be looking at is the compare tool. Currently the Cash Game Board Championships is running, so you can have a look at how these ranges might differ to the normal ranges. So click the compare tool after clicking the preflop section and click apply, and this will compare the two ranges with the frequencies. We can see how, as I go through the game tree, the bars adjust. So the first bar is the regular ranges, and the second bar is the ranges for this separate format. If we click on a node like this, we can see there's a pretty big difference between the big blind defending ranges. And we can have a look at some of the hands that might be close in EV that are being folded in a normal cash game compared to one with an ante. So let's scroll down a little bit. And we can see a combo like Queen, Queen, 8, 4, for example. It'd be a defend, and the EV difference would be about 0.39. And this view lets you see all the different combos and how they would be played differently. You can also use the filters to look at specific hand classes. So let's look at weak ace X. And we can see there's a lot of these fringe hands that are now playable. Something like ace 10, 8, 4 rainbow would be an example of this. We can also look at aggregate reports to see how we play our strategy across different textures. So let's look at a scenario button versus small blind 3-bet pot. What we can do now is click on a specific texture filter. So for example, let's look at straight boards. Another thing we can do is use the syntax to filter out different board textures. So for example, we can put in XYZ to get rid of the straight boards with a flush draw, or we can do XXY to look at specifically boards with a flush draw. So let's do the rainbow filter and look at just rainbow straight boards. And now we click the aggregate report button and it will populate like this. This will be sorted by frequency, so highest bet frequency to lowest. If we click this button here, we can also use this hand filter button to sort and look at how we play our specific hand class. So for example, let's say we want to look at how we play our straights. Currently the bet frequency is 39%. So if we input the straight filter, we can see that 39% jumps up to 49%. We can also just look at a different hand class. So let's say top pair. And we can see, this hand class is just checking more. So pretty cool feature. If you want to look at a specific board, let's say we want to look at Queen 9, 8, we'll click go to study. And that will show us the specific strategy for that flop. Next feature that I'm going to show you is the copy to clipboard tool. So we can actually copy these ranges in any spot into our clipboard, and that will let you paste it into a tool like Monka Solver. So let's click on this node and click copy. You can also just paste this into a notepad. So if we paste it here, we can see all of these hands being pasted in. Another thing you can do is actually to share the sim that we're looking at. to someone else. So if you click this button here, it will actually copy the reference URL, and you can actually paste this in your browser, and it will actually take you to the sim. So this would be the URL, for example, and you could just send this to a friend if you want to both look at the same sim. And so the next feature we'll look at is the hand filter feature, and you can use this for both pre and post swap. For now, let's look at post swap. So we can look at the hand categories here. If we just click some of these boxes, it will auto-populate this filter. But you can also hover over this eye next to the hand filter to see what the syntax actually is. You can also enter this manually. So, for example, let's look at ace king and look at what types of ace king would open from under the gun. And you can see about half of the ace kings are being folded pre-flop. Let's add some filters to see how this might change things. So let's put in XXYY, which would be double suited. And you can see we're opening almost all the double suited ace king. Let's change this to Y to Z. That will show us the single suited ace king, which we're opening 55% of. Let's change this to tri-suit, so triple XY. And we're now mostly folding. You can also do rainbow, so that'd be X, Y, Z, W. And now almost all of the rainbow ace king here would be a fold. One thing you might notice is there are aces in this range. So if we wanted to get rid of the aces, we'd have to use an operator. So here would do exclamation mark not ace ace. And that will get rid of the ace combos. There are also some other operators here. So for example, we might look at aces with no pair. So that would be RR. So these would be all the ace kings with no pair. You definitely want to play around with this feature a bunch to learn how to filter out different types of hand classes. And this is quite useful for post flop, especially when you want to look at how a certain type of hand plays. So finally, we're going to look at hand filters for post flop. So I've gone and taken an under the gun versus big blind single raise pot and just put in a flop. And we have a bunch of different buckets here. So for example, if we click top pair, this will just auto populate the hand filter section. So you don't have to do this manually, which is quite nice. And this will just show you all the combinations of top pair and how they're played. If we get rid of this filter, this will just show that our c-bet frequency here is currently 39. With the filter, it's now 48. If we add in top pair with wrap, for example, we can see we're almost always betting. So this is a nice feature. It lets you see how different the hand classes are playing and how some of the nuances are within these hand classes. So top pair plus wrap, or well, what if we have top pair plus open ender, for example? How's that going to be different? And yeah, a lot more checking here. So I hope you found this video useful, and definitely check out and play around with some of these features.